seen it all, but of course having a COVID crisis plus an inflationary crisis plus a mainland war in Europe you haven't seen when you were Prime Minister as well. But I mean, how do you think Europe is coping with these multiple crises?
Well, there is indeed a quantum of crisis and a composition of crisis that is unprecedented. But there isn't this time one feature that was extremely disturbing during the financial crisis 10 years ago in Europe, because now there aren't the good countries and the bad countries. Well, there is one bad country, but it's not in the EU, and that is the Russian Federation. But at the time of the debt crisis, there was a moral conflict going through Europe between the countries which, in common judgment at least, had originated the crisis through profligate fiscal behavior in previous years, and countries which were requested to come in to rescue those countries. So there was a lot of acrimony, which tended to be very much between North and South. Now this time the COVID crisis has hit, at least initially, everybody. This crisis, the war crisis, again is something due to external forces, although the EU member states are all on the same side, although the impact, of course, can be differential.
How do we get out of this?
Sorry, and one final point. During the debt crisis 10 years ago, individual member states in difficulty were under really enormous difficulty because the EU insisted on them, rightly so, to put their budget in order quickly. So they had and did cut spending and raise taxes. This time there is an enormous flow of money coming from Europe to the individual member states.
I mean, we can all look back, and perhaps now's not the time to do it, so to look about how we got into this crisis with Russia feeling it had to, or it wanted to invade Ukraine. For whatever reasons, Mr. Putin's gone in there. Do you think the signs were there and were missed by some of the European leaders, and actually the wrong signals were given to Russia over the years?
Maybe yes. Maybe yes. It is also true that it was a rather different Russia altogether. I remember when I was in government in 2012 in particular, Russia was still a member of the G8. So it was taking part responsibly in common decision making on the international economy. Then of course came Crimea, Ukraine, but I think probably Western Europe and the US were too naive in not forecasting enough the change in the personality and political strategy of President Putin. But it is also true that indeed there have been big changes, and therefore it's normal to have changed very much the posture vis-à-vis Russia now.
You met Vladimir Putin. I'm sure you've met him many times as well. What do you think changed in his head that he felt more insecure, he felt that Russia's sphere of influence wasn't being observed, that he felt that Russia was being ignored as a great power? What do you think changed? What can you see that's so different from the man you knew?
Well, the thing that changed positively, at least until recently, in Russia has been the economy, at least for the very well off, but also for ordinary citizens. And so this has given Putin a fairly secure basis of consensus. What the Russians felt desperate about, given their inherently national culture about Russia and about the former empire, was the lack of dignity that Russia was having at a certain point in the international context. And probably Putin must have felt that this was the thing to do, try to recapture some of the lost Soviet empire, and to show the world that Russia and he are not as irrelevant as they have been a bit precipitously considered to be.